In this video, I'm using the Healslime from Dragon Quest as a Pokémon in Ruby. But let me apologize in advance, because it's going to be really stupid, and perhaps boring. Stupid because they gave the tutorial boss from the original monsters some of the highest max stats. And I didn't realize just how boring it would be to watch, due to the moveset I gave it in an attempt to balance its stats. Anyway, as you can see, its stats in the original GBC games are ridiculous. 11 and 18 are some of the highest growth indices, and 20 is not even bad for the early game. I didn't nerf its stats directly, so it will have 110 in HP, attack, and defense, a massive 144 in special attack, 90 in special defense, and 60 in speed. These give it a total of 624, which is higher than some of the legendary Pokémon. Due to the counterintuitive way growth tables work in the GBC games, higher index numbers aren't always better. 12 and 18 are among the best, while 13 and 19 are really bad. I based its level up moves on the healer skill set in the 3DS remake. Barrier is buff, Protect is Mist Me, and Calm Mind has the same Japanese text as Meditation. I almost gave it no attacking moves at all except Hydro Pump at level 50, but I remembered in time that there's no normal attack in Pokémon, so a few offensive moves are forced. And the only TMs I allowed it to learn are those generic normal type attacks and Water Pulse, so it will have zero coverage options until Extrasensory at level 60, which isn't even going to help it. All standard solo run rules apply. I will set up a Healslime with perfect IVs and pre-applied EVs. Natures are pointless when I can edit the base stats directly, so it will have a neutral nature. It will be a mono water type with the levitate ability to suit its appearance, and its only sensible EV distribution will be max special attack and speed. I put it in the 1.25 million experience group due to its stats, and the weird fact that it's the only non-metal slime that levels up slowly in the 3DS remake of Terry's Wonderland. Instead of legendary stats and a dreadful moveset, I should have just heavily nerfed its stats and given it more diverse moves for some entertainment value. I mean, this might be more challenging to play, but really boring to watch. I'm going to use all of the Terry's Wonderland bosses as Pokémon in Ruby and Sapphire, so if this video receives too many downvotes, I'll just redo it later with nerfed stats and a better moveset. I only have Bubble to work with until level 18, and it only has an abysmal 20 power in this generation, but it'll still be more than enough for Roxanne's gym. Her Geodude has no special defense and a double water weakness, and her Nosepass has a terrible attack stat. The AI in these games treats moves like Rock Tomb and Icy Wind as speed debuffs instead of damage-dealing attacks. This means it will stop using them as soon as you become slower, even when you have a weakness to them. Speaking of Rock Tomb, it only has 50 power and 80% accuracy until Gen 6, so it's not even reliable as a speed debuff. The second gym is pretty easy as well, since I can set up Barrier and heal myself with Wish. I also have Water Gun now, which should do great damage to basic Pokémon that don't resist it, thanks to my high special attack. Brawly gives the TM for Bulk Up, which I obviously can't learn. It simply makes no sense on a squishy jellyfish. The second rival battle is where my total lack of coverage move starts to hurt me. He now has a Grovyle that knows Absorb, and my Water Gun can hardly outdamage its self-healing. Wrap is just awful, and it doesn't even have perfect accuracy since it's a trapping move. There really isn't much strategy to this fight, if any at all. Literally all I can do is attack for chip damage when I can, and heal myself when I get low on health. The same can be said for just about every subsequent fight in this run, so don't be surprised if I run out of things to say. And I probably will, so I think I'll just talk about the original Dragon Quest monsters instead when I do. Unlike in the newer games, monsters' stats don't grow at a fixed rate throughout their levels in the GBC games, because a lookup table is used instead of a formula. This is also why it's impossible to directly translate their growth tables to the base stats used in Pokémon. Stat growth in the original games is divided into stages, and the notable dividers are levels 17 and 42. Some tables like 6 and 19 grow quickly only before level 17, which is why they max out so low. In comparison, 25 is a super late bloomer that grows rapidly only after level 42, and it's unlikely you'll have anything at that level before beating the game. Anyway, I have to equip a cherry berry for Watson's gym, spam water gun, and hope that his Magnemite doesn't use Thunder Wave immediately. Water gun isn't enough to one-shot anything on his team, but he will just waste turns using potions. Thankfully, his Magneton was barely a 2-shot, so I didn't have to deal with paralysis. He gives the TM for Shockwave, which could be useful for coverage against water types, but sadly, I can't use it. I picked up the TM for Secret Power on the way to the first Maxi fight, and it will probably be the only upgrade to my moveset before the last gym. Maxi is slightly easier than Archie for water types, but for some reason, the ROM editor I'm using doesn't work for Sapphire or Leaf Green. It won't make much difference, since you only fight him twice. His Mightyena wasn't a one-shot, despite my huge special attack and level advantage, which really shows that Water Gun has already outlived its usefulness. What's worse is that I'll have to keep using it all the way until after the 8th gym. Water Gun is, however, more than enough to one-shot everything on Flannery's team. Slugma is just an awful Pokémon, and Torkoal has much higher physical defense than special. The Healslime's wisdom growth is one of the best in the game, since Table 18 grows at a steady rate through all levels, averaging 7 points per level. It's very similar to 12, with higher growth below level 17. I obviously can't use the Overheat TM. It's a terrible move for solo runs anyway, since it lowers special attack by 2 stages after each use. Norman's gym is also pretty trivial, because of Slacking's truant ability that makes them nap every other turn. Although I still only have Water Gun to hit them with, I can just set up barrier and heal when they nap. The Healslime joins you at level 6 in the original monsters, with some pretty horrendous stats. He won't gain a lot of stats either if you grind him up to 7 or 8, because his only stat that grows quickly at early levels is agility. The table 11 he uses for HP, attack and defense grows at a slow rate until level 17, a medium rate until 42, and a fast rate afterwards. Since you'll be breeding a lot, it's unlikely you'll have monsters above level 30 or so before beating the main story. But again, since Pokémon uses a fixed formula to calculate stats, it's impossible to alter the growth rate at different levels. So the only fair way to convert the tables into base stats is to use their total growth. You get Facade for beating Norman, but I don't have the Guts ability, and I don't want to keep a status ailment in a solo run. After kicking Team Magma or Aqua out of this building, you can get a Mystic Water here. It's actually held by the cast form he gives you. It only boosts water moves by 10% though, not 20% like in the later games. The rival battle is just a joke at this point. He doesn't even have a single fully evolved Pokémon. Note that I don't have Surf. I didn't make it compatible because I don't see how you can ride on a tiny floating jellyfish, even though things have made less sense in Pokémon. It seems non-grassy areas outside count as normal terrain for secret power, same as inside buildings. I put Calm Mind onto the Healslime's Learn set simply because it has the same Japanese name as Meditation. The move Meditate in Pokémon was originally called Yoga Pose, which is why it raises physical attack, not special. Nintendo did some of the weirdest censorship back in the day. The Flying Gym is more annoying than difficult. I have nothing good against Winona's Pelipper or Altaria, but she leads with a Swellow, and the worst it can do is spam double team, so I can just set up Calm Mind on it. Confusion from Supersonic could potentially lead to a loss, but I'd have to flip tails every turn for its entire duration, which is highly unlikely. Skarmory was an easy one-shot since it has mediocre HP and special defense, but Altaria has much higher special defense and a resistance to water. However, due to an AI quirk in these games, it will always use Dragon Dance first, unless it's faster and can knock me out. She gives aerial ace, but again, being a dedicated healer/supporter in the original game, I can't learn any coverage TMs. Here's the final rival battle in these games, and he still doesn't have a fully evolved starter. I know they intended for Wally to be your real rival, but they could at least give him a full team and final form starter, if only for the Pokédex entry. I wish there were a way to implement level caps in Pokémon, because Dragon Quest monsters can't actually reach level 99 or 100 without a lot of breeding. In the original games, each monster has its own default level cap, and some can be as low as 30, which means growth tables like 11 and 25 are completely wasted on them. In Jokers and the remakes, the default cap for all monsters is 50. I could scale each monster's base stats by its level cap, but that will end up making the rich richer and the poor poorer, because stronger monsters tend to have higher level caps as well. For example, the Healslime has a level cap of 50, but the Awful Eyesore caps out at only 35. Anyway, I need a second Pokémon to fight the Psychic Gym, so I just grabbed an HM Mule. It actually survived long enough to land a Surf on both of them, but it probably only did 1 or 2 damage. Still, it's funny they didn't target it first. Not sure why the Solrock didn't use Solar Beam after Sunny Day. Maybe it doesn't have it, but I remember seeing Solar Beam in this fight, which could be an Emerald, or used by me. I already know Calm Mind, and it's definitely there to stay, so I won't need the TM for it. The second Maxi fight was by far the most annoying fight in this entire playthrough, and that was because I forgot to equip a Persim Berry to heal Confusion. His Mightyena knows swagger and scary face, and I ended up hitting myself 3 times in a row. Trying to set up Calm Mind on it wouldn't even work, because it also knows Roar to force a switch. Since you need multiple HMs to enter and traverse this cave, I can't just deposit everything else to circumvent Roar. I should have just attacked with Water Gun from the start, but I really doubt it would be enough to one-shot it without its recoil damage from takedown. Water Gun is totally obsolete by now. In fact, Water Gun from my 144 special attack is only roughly equivalent to Surf from 35, or 65-ish without EVs. Since my moveset is so bad, I had to look up the location of the return TM. They hid it in the middle of the sea, and so late into the game that any normal Pokémon would already have better stab and coverage moves that can hit weaknesses. But in this case, it's literally the strongest move, by base power, that I have access to. All of Wallace's Pokémon can confuse you with Water Pulse, so I'm not forgetting to equip a Persim Berry this time. But I still ended up getting confused, since Water Gun is just that bad. I have no idea what kind of stats Love Disc has, but I should have known Return would just one-shot it. Well, at least Calm Mind also gives me some protection against special damage, which all water moves do in this gen. Now I get paralyzed by Body Slam. I was going to reset the game since I really didn't want to deal with paralysis and confusion, but I decided to just let it play out anyway. It turned out I never got confused again, and so I was still able to win. I finally get the Water Pulse TM. This move is normally trash since it only has 60 power and doesn't even bypass accuracy check like most other 60 power moves, but it's the strongest stab move I can learn. And I can't wait to say goodbye to Water Gun. The Wally battle at the end of Victory Road can be quite luck dependent in a solo run. All of his Pokémon can inflict status ailments, from paralysis to sleep, to the worst of all, Leech Seed. Fortunately, he opens with Altaria, and due to a setting in these games that makes the AI prioritize speed, it will always use Dragon Dance until it's faster. I have maxed speed EV, so this gives me a chance to set up Calm Mind and proceed to sweep his team. Being in the 1.25 million experience group means I'm still underleveled for the league, and grinding in this game is absolutely horrible, no thanks to the abysmal experience yield. There aren't any wild Pokémon above level 50 at all. You'd think they should have learned after the Gen 2 disaster with the level curve, but apparently not. Anyway, I can't be bothered, and I'll just use rare candies if necessary. But before I do that, let's just see how far I can go at my current level. I have the stats of a legendary Pokémon, but the same can't be said about my moveset, which consists of a grand total of 2 types, water and normal. Persim Berry is forced for the Sydney fight, since some of his Pokémon no swagger. I hope Water Pulse is enough to one-shot his Mightyena without Calm Mind, because I don't want to deal with Sand Attack. I mean, my Water Pulse is weaker than Surf from 70 special attack. Mightyena was a one-shot, but he sent out Cacturne next, which is very inconvenient, to say the least. It knows Cotton Spore and Leech Seed, neither of which I can avoid, since I have no way to one-shot it. Needle Arm is special in this gen, so I might as well just set up Calm Mind on it, and heal when needed. Sharpedo and Absol were easy one-shots, but his Shiftry likes to spam double team, and it also knows swagger. I made a stupid mistake here, thinking I had +2 attack stages from swagger. I totally forgot about Intimidate. Interestingly, Shiftry is the only Pokémon in this gen that can naturally learn Extrasensory, and only as a Nuzleaf. It doesn't even get Stab, because Extrasensory is a psychic move. Phoebe is going to be a major problem for me because of Curse on her first Dusclops. I have nothing that can one-shot it, and even though I can heal myself, her Pokémon can still attack me. Also, from Gen 3 onwards, you take Curse damage after KOing each opponent. I'm forced to recover every other turn to stay alive, but I don't think it's enough because Shadow Ball from her Banette can definitely do more than 25% to me. Shadow Ball is physical in this gen, and that thing has a lot of attack. I couldn't get a chance to attack her second Banette, as if I do, I'd just get knocked out by Curse immediately after. I'll have to try a different held item, or resort to using Rest, which I'd rather not. Albeit annoying, the Sydney fight is easy enough if I don't get too unlucky, so I'll just speed through it. For Phoebe, I'll try equipping a citrus berry this time. It only heals 30 HP in Gen 3 instead of 25% like in the later games, but it can still buy me an extra turn. I'm not sure if it triggers from curse damage though. I have to open with Calm Mind to one-shot her Pokémon, so I can't avoid curse. I just need to keep my HP above half, because I have to attack her Sableye immediately to avoid Confuse Ray. The citrus berry does trigger from curse damage, but only when your HP is already below half, and it heals before the next instance of curse, which is strangely helpful. Her second Dusclops was not a one-shot, but it got confused and KO'd itself. Well, that works too. I don't think Glacia can do much to me, especially since you can defrost yourself in this gen, and moves like Freeze Dry don't exist yet. I'll equip a berry anyway, just in case. Her first Glalie likes to use Hail and Light Screen first, so it's basically a setup fodder for me. I'll just spam Calm Mind to stall out its Light Screen, and then I should be able to one or two shot the rest of her team. Her lineup is clearly the worst, due to the small number of ice types in this game. I have nothing good against Drake, but fortunately, Dragon is special in Gen 3, so Calm Mind protects me against his strongest moves. His Shelgon always uses Rock Tomb when it's slower due to the AI setting, but since I'm already slower than his Flygon and Salamence anyway, it just gives me free turns to set up Calm Mind. His Altaria always uses Dragon Dance first when it can't KO you, but since its attack stat and moves are terrible, it's also relatively safe to set up on. It can paralyze with Dragon Breath, which is something to look out for. His Flygons can't do much since I have Levitate. One of them used Sandstorm, which ironically hurt himself more than me, as you'll soon see. Yep, its chip damage knocked his own Salamence out, and I still get experience for it. I might as well use a rare candy and learn extrasensory. It's not every day you get to use this move in Gen 3. In fact, it's not even a great move, with only 80 power and a negligible 10% chance to stun. Its only advantage over Psychic is its 30 PP. I realized too late that I forgot to equip a Pecha Berry for Toxic from Steven Skarmory. Water Pulse will definitely not one-shot it without Calm Mind, so I can only hope that it misses or opens with Spikes instead. The AI does not check your party size before using entry hazards, and I believe it still doesn't. Luckily, it just attacked me with Aerial Ace, doing almost nothing. Its EVs are probably in the defenses, if it has any at all. The rest of his team is trivial. Most of them are weak to water, and I don't think his Cradily has any grass attacks at all. His Claydol can set up Light Screen, but I can just spam Calm Mind to stall it out. It did get a boost from Ancient Power and set up another Light Screen, but I already have enough special attack boosts to counteract it. At least I got to use extrasensory once. Again, I apologize if this run was boring to watch. Like I said earlier, I should have nerfed its stats and given it a proper moveset. I'll do an original boss that's really bad next time, and probably redo the Healslime later, depending on how many dislikes this one receives. Anyway, thanks for watching.